Hello and welcome to Empire Rugby League. This is the Western Front, where we talk everything local WA Rugby League. And boys, it's round 27 in the NRL. It's massive rest periods left, right and centre. And tonight, one of our owners called in for a rest week. Sweeney's off on the R&R. So I'm the Bear. I'm going to be trying to host Morgz Beer Triks tonight and get their thoughts on the senior grand finals upcoming and the junior grand finals just gone. So, boys, how are we?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, Sweeney's obviously our Isaiah Yeo or Nathan Cleary. We know the quality he brings, ... But, I mean, looking forward to it.
Yeah, like, slowly recovering from Sunday, mate. But getting there.
I was about to say, we'll touch on your efforts from Sunday in a little bit, Beer Triks, but first of all, let's kick it off with a bit of a senior flavour. We'll go through the senior prelim final results, and while we do that, we'll also have a look at the grand finals that are coming up this Saturday at Dorrien Gardens. So in the women's league tag, the prelim final, Joondalup 24. Boys, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say upset Ellenbrook 20.
I mean, it's a massive upset. Like, Joondalup not making the finals last year, playing finals footy for more games in the finals than there are in the finals, being elimination everyone. I think it's a massive effort for the Giants girls to get there, and I think credit to them.
Yeah, what a great story. Yeah. They had to fight for their spot just to make the final, and then sudden death all the way through.
Right, it's almost like that playoff game that was created for some reason has really lit a fire under Joondalup, and they've just carried that all the way through this final series, all the way to the grand final, where they will meet up with the minor premiers, South Perth. How do we see the grand final playing out, boys?
I mean, South Perth have been one of the dominant teams for the last few years. They have to go in red-hot favourites. But, I mean, like we said, Joondalup, fairy tale stuff. Looking at the teams, Carroll from South Perth, 21 tries in, 15, 16 games. I mean, that's red hot, and I think that's potentially the difference. But, and I apologise if I pronounce his name, Moeka, I think it is. Apologies again if it's wrong. From Joondalup, has scored all but 8 of their points in the last 3 games. Has absolutely dominated for Joondalup coming into this finals period, and I think playing sort of more on an edge, more a rugby league second rower. I think it's whoever dominates out of those two very different positions, with Carroll at fullback. Whoever wins that battle helps their team probably win the game.
Yeah, they're a great side, that South Perth side, but yeah, it's hard to not get on the Joondalup bus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
we're running to the finals, and obviously you take your motivation from where you can get it from, and yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've all heard and seen about these. The run through the finals, they're every grassroots footy, every NRL competition, it's littered with the fairy tale run into the finals, and this looks like Joondalup's. Boys, I haven't seen much women's league tag this year, so do both these sides like to spin the ball around, or are they hard and fast through the middle? Is there a strategy, or is it just see the gap, run through the gap?
I mean, like I said, South Perth, Brooke Carroll, 21 tries. I think that's been South Perth's strength for a number of years. Give the ball to her, speed, pace to burn, and I think finding the smallest holes, slicing through it. That's sort of how they have played over a number of years, watching them fairly closely. I think Joondalup is more of a bit of a power and strength game when it comes to the tags. So, like I said, I think very opposing styles of game, where the conditions and the prospect of rain may play an important factor in this game.
No, back balls on that. He's the women's league tag guru. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, South Perth v Joondalup will kick the senior grand final day off at Dorrien Gardens, and I believe that kick-off is scheduled for 12 p.m.
12 o'clock, yeah. And looking at South Perth, last premiership was 2021 and Joondalup's 2016. So both teams looking to break a small drought, not a massive drought, but I think it's going to be a good way to start the day, and I think, I've got to be with Joondalup on this one, just for someone, back in their fairy tale.
The feel-good story.
That's it.
Just before we move on, boys, it's just popped up. on my feed that Grace Smith is the Women's League Tag Player of the Year. So that's
fantastic.
in nicely to our little part of the show here.
There you go.
Timing is everything, boys. The universe looking after us there. But we'll move on, and the next grade we're going to talk about is third grade. So the prelim final saw Willagee 14 get up over Ellenbrook 10. Not a great day for Ellenbrook up at North Beach last weekend. Did we see much of this game, boys?
Nah, with no live stream of this game, we were sort of just keeping an eye on the results, being, the third grade superstar that I am. But I think this one, Willagee has to be one of the biggest teams I've ever seen taken third grade in the last decade. I think they maybe started the year slightly slowly, but they're just a big, big team in almost every position with a couple of little agile blokes that sort of run amok. Where I think South Perth, the systems sort of filters down through the grades and the structure and the class they play with. Again, that I think that's where they win out. Maybe
was this prelim an upset? Willagee over Ellenbrook?
I think it was. I think Willagee came in hot. The Titans played Willagee in the last round of the season, and Willagee just ran amok with us having a fairly good tide. Willagee just steamrolled us. So Ellenbrooks look good. They've got some really good players, but I think Willagee just a big team.
Too big, too strong.
Mate, they're massive.
Well, with that Willagee victory in the prelim, they will go on to face yet another minor premiership team that South Perth have this weekend. So South Perth v Willagee is the grand final. Now, Morgz, you alluded to there, a very sizable yet mobile and athletic forward pack for Willagee. South Perth, what are they?
Like I said, I think they're a more structured team. Systems filtering down through first grade, which has obviously been a very successful system. So I think they might be able to sort of run that Willagee team around. But if Willagee can get on top with their power and their strength, it probably equals out. I guess the big question I've got, and it's always the way with these lower grades, is who is finals eligible, who is available. I think that can be the deciding factor, who can play for each team.
Yeah, like you said, come down to the battle in the middle. If South Perth can contain the big Willagee boys, then they should come out over the top.
Yeah, I think overall
playing team, but
I think overall South Perth are probably the more skillful team, but third grade skill and power, which ones aren't better? Looking at their last premierships, South Perth in third grade 2017, I believe. Willagee might have won in 1966. No one seems to know. It was them or Freo that according to our amazing Rod Fielding and his work with the history of WA Rugby League. But that's a big drought if they weren't 1966. So yeah,
that goes for all grades. So could be a drought-breaking day for Willagee.
Oh well, that's it. Willagee's history across the grades, like you said, Beer Triks, is spotty at best. So could be a changing in WA Rugby League history this weekend.
Well, we'll get more to that as we move on down the track, boys. But Val Murphy Trophy, the prelim final saw Ellenbrook 20 over Alkimos 18. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb. I've heard you boys talk about Alkimos all year and the strength and dominance and skill and just the way they play. Yet the young Ellenbrook side seemed to come over the top of them in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Alkimos, but I also wrote Alkimos off earlier in the year. So, I mean, what do we know? But, I mean, Alkimos was the third team. So I guess it's not an upset looking at that result. I think looking at the team sheets they'll put out, Alkimos was missing Davey Martin, wasn't it? Yeah. I think so. I mean, we talked about him last week, spoke him up, and I think that's a big loss for Alkimos on the day. Ellenbrook's got a lot of skill, a lot of talent. Probably not the result I expected, but probably the result that the ladder suggested should happen.
After the result in week one of the finals for Alkimos, I thought they were going to win the comp in a canter. Putting 66 points on week one. Maybe Davey Martin's worth 38 points or 48 points to Alkimos. So
I mean, he's a good player.
Well done to Ellenbrook and both clubs. Good signs for hopefully pushing into first grade next year.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the skill there, which I've seen throughout the year, watching both teams play pretty closely at times. both have the quality of players to step up next year, and hopefully they do.
Well, you alluded to that massive victory in week 1 of the finals there, Beer Triks, for Alkmaar. Perhaps that was a victory that has upset them. Maybe they started feeling themselves a little bit too much. Like that's an impressive victory to pull out week 1 of the finals. But is it better pulling that out week 1 or in the prelim or in the Grandy?
Praise can be a bad thing as well, can't it? So, too much praise
can hide a few cracks that may have been exposed in the prelim. But move on to the grand final, and it will be Ellenbrook v North Beach. How do we see this one playing out, boys? I think this is North Beach's only appearance on grand final day, which is a bit rare.
Correct. And we'll get into how rare that is in a bit as well. But, I mean, I think looking at this, we talked about availability for third grade, but I think availability and eligibility is the deciding factor in this game. Ellenbrook, obviously, VMT is their top team. They can pick whoever the heck they want, run their best 17 out, go hard. North Beach have had some amazing players. Looking at the players they've picked in the last few weeks, Gadecki, Brent Crisp, former NRL player that when he's played across the grades has absolutely lit it up, but who can they pick and who can't they pick? We don't know yet. Once teams drop, I think that will be a key indicator of whether Beach wins or whether Ellenbrook wins. Obviously, Ellenbrook has never won a senior men's premiership in any grade. North Beach last won reserve grade in 2021.
Big day for Ellenbrook there.
Massive. Yeah, I can guarantee that Beach will be trying to squeeze the strongest squad they can. They're the only team they've got there on grand final day. And such a proud club as they are, they'll want to be coming away with something at the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely. Like North Beach has been one of the strongest clubs for the last 30 years. To not have a premiership in a year would be, I think, a disappointing factor for them.
Definitely.
Well, fantastic. And then we move on to the women's premiership, and the prelim final saw Fremantle 12 upset Willagee 10. Now, boys, I'm pretty sure I heard last week or the week before, whenever you guys were talking about this game, thought Willagee, basically, it was theirs to lose.
I mean, we've probably thought it was, and we might have had a bit of Willagee bias because of how amazing and flary their game has been. But again, I guess Freo was second on the ladder for a reason. Bit of hard work and a bit of sort of tight game probably got them over the line against, like we said, Willagee were maybe relying on a couple of players and a couple of bits of individual flair that didn't quite come off. So, yeah. Was it an upset, Beer Triks?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think it was an upset. Willagee was the team that I wanted to win, but Fremantle's been building all year, and I'm not too surprised by the result. And that's pretty much the scoreline that I expected. Tight, tough tussle between them. So,
well, out of all the boys, Beer Triks, you were the one flying the Fremantle flag, going, "Hey, be careful, watch out! If these girls hit their straps, there'll be something to come up against." And that's exactly what Ellenbrook have to face in the grand final. So it's Ellenbrook v Fremantle. Now, Ellenbrook been far and away the superior women's tackle side this year. I think they claimed the minor premiership with a few weeks to spare. Yeah. And then, as we mentioned just then, Fremantle finding form at the pointy end of the season and starting to kick on.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ellenbrook has been in every women's grand final since of the relaunch of the women's tackle a few years ago. But, I mean, that said, it's a massive premiership drought for them. They haven't won the last 2 years. So, I think they're going to be hungry to prove they are the dominant women's club in WA. They have the history, they have the players to back it up, and I think they will be very short favourites, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced on that. Fremantle have gotten closer and closer every time they've played, and I think they'll bring their best footy, and I think it'll be close.
Well, this is where we see the two different paths collide. Ellenbrook obviously straight through to the grand final after their impressive qualifying final win, and then Fremantle have had to go the long way, and potentially does the week off hurt Ellenbrook and the long trip actually steal Fremantle for the grand final? It's just one of those rugby league questions that we won't know the answer to until full time.
Age-old question, isn't it?
and the answer's always obvious in hindsight, but never before kickoff. I mean, Ellen Brooks being there, done that. I don't think it will have an impact, but I mean, we'll be sitting here next week when they lose 30-0 and saying they should have played last week. They wanted to play last week.
I don't know if that'll be the score.
I mean, either do I. But, you know, we got for our analogies, we've got to go off the roof. Let's be outlandish.
But in all honesty, this probably should be the game played before the men's premiership. Unfortunately, to the schedule that has been released, it won't be.
Yeah.
It'll be played before Val Murphy, which, look, boys, you guys have been quite strong on this all year about giving the women's premiership the rightful place it deserves instead of being hidden away on a Friday night, or it potentially should be played on a Saturday so that we can have more young girls exposed to the women's tackle game.
Yeah, and like last week it was the game before men's premiership, and last year it was the game before men's premiership. All I can look at it is and see is, whereas in a couple of the past years all games have been broadcast, it appears that only men's and women's premiership is. So if it's simply logistics with the coverage on YouTube and how that sort of timing schedules and like broadcasting constraints and no dramas, but I mean, it's given the difference from last week's schedule, it seems unusual. But hey, grand final footy is grand final footy. Like,
yeah, well, that's been the schedule for the last few grand final days, hasn't it?
From what I can find,
before the men. It's the way it's been all through the finals. I don't know why it's changed now. I'd like to know if anyone can fill us in, let us know. That'll be.
Yeah, it seems a bit odd, but look, boys, we'll have to move on. Excuse me. To the final game that will be on Saturday is the men's premiership, obviously, and the prelim final saw Willagee 12 over the top of North Beach 6. So North Beach losing at home at a prelim. Did we see much of this game, boys? I think this was the live stream game.
Yeah. For a prelim final, it was pretty low standard of football from my point of view. There was a fair few mistakes, some interesting refereeing decisions, Willagee made the most of the mistakes made by North Beach through the game and defended well enough to hold on for a 12-6 victory.
Yeah, unfortunately, family commitments kept me away from watching this one. But if you had said to me the result was 12-6, I would have said North Beach win 99 times out of 100. I think we've seen all year, obviously Beach can obviously put on some clinics, but I would have said in the prelim final at North Beach, grand final spot on the line, 12-6, North Beach's more maybe clinical style of footy wins out. Obviously that wasn't the case this time. I think Willagee have maybe surprised us at multiple times this year in that we've thought their bubble might be about to burst and might have slowly deflated a couple of times, and all of a sudden they get that footy pump it up and keep on kicking. Maybe another fairy tale story. We've talked about it a couple of times.
Maybe.
From no premiership team to premiership grand final. I mean, I think that's an impressive effort.
Willagee will now have two teams playing on grand final day, and this will make South Perth's third team on grand final day. So it is South Perth v Willagee. As we've sort of gone through these clubs for third grade, but meant for premiership, it's a lot different. So how do we see this one playing out, gents?
Well, I've been screaming out all year for Willagee to work on their defence, and to keep North Beach to 6 at their home ground in a prelim is a huge effort. So I think that's a key part to winning a premiership, and if they can bring their attack that they've had all year and they can defend like that, like they did last week, it'll go a long way to them winning it. But South Perth, for the most part of the season, they've been the benchmark, haven't they? And I think that Simasoni will have a huge influence on this result. It'll be a shootout between him and Gudgeon.
I mean, I think Beer Triks is reading my notes here. I don't know how, because the handwriting's next on illegible, but my notes say South Perth systems, Bears attack. That's keep it simple, but I think that's sort of what I've looked at, Like I said, I think Willagee throughout the year, their attack has been their strength, where South Perth just play a grinding style of footy and then switch it into attack as we go. But yeah, and again, players to watch, it's Langy versus Gudgeon. I think obviously a half versus a fullback, so maybe not coming directly up against each other, but I think the two key players, and if one team can shut that opposing player down, they win the game. Looking at last time's teams won grand finals, South Perth haven't won for 11 years. And as you mentioned last year, Willagee have never won a Prem's grand final. And last time they made a grand final was 1984 when Sweeney was about 15 and the three of us weren't born. But I think an interesting fact, and I've seen it mentioned by an associate of mine on the governing body page. Good to see, with all due respect, Fremantle and North Beach not in the grand final. It's the first time since 2011. Oh, sorry, second time since 2011. Sorry, Beer Triks. Cutting you short there. Second time since 2011 that a grand final hasn't featured one of the Roosters and the Sea Eagles. So I think it's good to see it mixed up and good to see, South Perth returning to where they were for a long time and Willagee coming back from, struggling last time they were in premiership, not being in it for a few years, putting a team in, having built correctly, built the right way. If Willagee win, I think we see the feature-length film by this time next year.
Well, that's just it. South Perth, obviously, it hasn't been smooth sailing all year. They probably started a bit rocky, had some personnel changes throughout the year, some tough calls made, and have been proven to be probably, in hindsight, the right ones. They're in the grand final.
Yeah.
So, well done to both clubs there. But boys, we've got to move on. There's been something amazing happened on Sunday just gone at Weber Reserve. It was our junior grand final day, and I've got to say, there were some cracking games in this one.
There was a lot of upsets.
A lot of upsets and cracking games. But
4 of the 6 games were upsets on the day. So
yeah, so let's kick it off with the girls' league tag. South Perth 10 over Alkimos 8. Again, this is just the start of the close finishes for the junior grand finals as well. So congratulations to the South Perth girls, premiers for 2025. How did we see this one fall out, boys? Were we there, or was this still a little bit too early?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was still in transit to the ground for this one. But I think the scary thing for the whole competition is we've talked about South Perth dominating women's league tag. If they're dominating girls' league tag and winning that, the pathway is obviously strong there. And I think that's a credit to the club. Obviously, Alkimos, we talk about pathways. They had 2 teams in the competition. I mean, yeah. That's impressive. To have that many players, that many girls wanting to be involved in rugby league is impressive. So, I mean, credit to both clubs. 2-point win. I mean, it's obviously heartbreak for Alkimos, but yeah, congrats to South Perth.
Yeah, first upset of the day. South Perth had to go a long way. They finished either 3rd or 4th, so played elimination games all the way through, and yeah, close victories all the way through, and well done to them.
Yeah, absolutely. 13's boys. The scoreline's a little bit deceiving. This was not this was not a 10-point game as it looks. Rockingham 20 over Willagee 10. I think they went try for try for a little bit at the beginning there, and then a few errors, and Rockingham just sort of scooped and pounced and kicked away.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of this game. The 7 for Rockingham, and I think it was the 12. They were a class above everyone else on the field. They were a huge reason that Rockingham won and upset the previously undefeated Willagee Bears in the 13th boys.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of that, from a personal perspective, the 7 for Rockingham, was involved with Rise, where I was involved. Seeing the way he played at Rise and played really well in the 13s comp there and probably dominated the 13s comp in a lot of ways, but the way he played on Sunday was a level again, and I think, we've spoken about Rise and we've spoken about what it's meant to do, and we've had some maybe sort of thoughts on how it could be better in the future, but I think it shows that extra bit of exposure, that slightly different coaching, exposure to the strength and conditioning, playing in a different team is a positive. And I think there was a few of the other Rockingham players I note as well that I've seen play at Rise and definitely played better in this grand final. And obviously, I'm sure some of the Willagee players would have been similar. I can't speak from on a personal perspective, but I think seeing the way these kids have developed from May through to now, big credit to how, both clubs are developing their players and the systems and, what rugby league should be at that age. It should be about kids getting better every week and growing as players.
Well, it's interesting on the back of that. Rockingham come out through the week and said that they're doing a junior development program for the off-season. They've aligned themselves with local sports fitness clubs in Smith's Fitness and Raw Fitness as well, so that's a good bit of strength and conditioning and wrestling, and they're also aligned with something to do with nutrition as well.
Yeah, so fantastic.
If you're part of the Rockingham club, I'd encourage you to get along to that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a fantastic initiative, and more clubs need to be looking at programs like that in off seasons. One, helps with retention of kids, and two, it's obviously going to make those players a lot better any time in the future. I will say that was from me, that 13s boys, I tell you what, Rocco had a couple of absolutely huge boys, which tends to help in this age group because we are still a little bit one out running, and when you've got boys that probably rival some of us for size playing in the under 13s.
Well, talking that, I was watching this game with Sweeney and he was commenting on how big the kids were, and he was kind of scared of how big the kids were. I was about to say we know he's a bit soft, but they are, mate. There's some seriously big hombres coming through the grades.
And then we move on to the under 14s girls, where Kwinana 20 upset Willagee 18. Now, boys, I know there's a bit of a personal touch here with both of you being involved with the Kwinana club, but if you can put your blue and yellow glasses to the side for a minute, how was this game? Like, this would have been something to watch.
I mean, again, we talked about in the seniors and fairy tales, Willagee lost one game all year. Kwinana won as many games in the finals as they did in the regular season. They had to win their last game by 20 points to get in. So regardless of what team it is, it could be any team. You put that scenario in a grand final and one team's smoking hot favourites. So to see a team come from fourth to win it, I mean, we talked about senior fairy tales. They were pretty bland in comparison to this one, I think.
Yeah, what a great year for the Titans, for the Kwinana girls. They were struggling a bit at the start of the year and sort of found some form at the end. Like you said, they had to win by quite a margin just to make the finals, elimination footy all the way through, and got the job done on the day. It's probably there's some big upsets on the day, but that's one of the best ones, and it delivered the Kwinana Titans their first premiership for the club. So awesome stuff. I think looking at that game, watching the game, Willagee in large portions probably looked a better team, but it was their final play, the final pass, running back in when they should have passed it out. Things like that probably hurt them and probably cost them. But again, that's junior footy, and speaking to some people in the day, this comp sort of went from 9 players earlier in the year to 11. But unusual, yes. But if it's getting more girls a game, if it's getting more girls involved in rugby league, all for it. Like, this is a 5-team comp, and I guess next year I want to see 6, 7, 8 teams. See these girls playing. See the ones that can't play under 14s next year having a under 16s, under 17s comp to run out. So if you're involved in local juniors, get the girls involved. Let's keep the girls going. We want this pathway. We want women's premiership to be more than 5 teams.
Well, not only that, boys, the girls play on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, we know where we're going with that one. The next one up will be the under 14s boys, but we're going to skip that. We're going to go to the under 15s boys, where it was Willagee 23 over Alkimos 16, and yes, it was 23. We had to do some fact checking on that one, but boys, how did this one play out?
This one I was in transit for as well. Had watched a little bit on the live stream. Sort of a bit of backwards and forwards from the little bits I've seen, looking at the scores. But I'll hand it over to you boys. I think you either on the stream or at the ground might have seen more than me.
Yeah, it was try for try all game, and then Willagee kicked the field goal to go 17-16 in front, and they scored a try in the last few minutes to really seal it. And it was a really good game of footy, probably the best game of the day.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I was at home watching this on the live stream while trying to watch NRL and keeping live score updates for the NRLW. This was by far, I think, this game was being played as a very ordinary NRL game was being played. So I actually paid more attention to our under 15s grand final than I did the NRL. So Beer Triks, yeah, I'm with you. It was try for try. There was not much split in these two teams. I think Willagee was at the 6 and 13. I think they had absolute screamers, and I think if the 13 probably scored two tries, set up by the 6. Like, I think that those two young fellas, I think they got to a point when they just went, well, you boys get us down the other end and we'll do our thing.
We'll put the polish on.
It was actually quite special to watch. I agree. I think it was by far the best grand final of the day. But that's taking nothing away from this game as well. The under 17.
Before we move off to 17s, while we've still got a little bit of Willagee flavour, I just noted on the day that arguably after the biggest win in Willagee Bears history on the Saturday beating North Beach, there was a lot of them first grade boys down there supporting the club and supporting all the Willagee teams.
That's
there.
fantastic.
So, got to take my hat off to them, especially after they probably would have celebrated that night. So there's probably a few dusty boys there, but that's awesome stuff. That's nice for the club moving forward.
That's a huge testament to what the club is building culture-wise. If your seniors are getting down, whether they're a little bit dusty from the night before or not, or sore or broken from bumps and bruises, but if they're getting down to support your juniors on such a big occasion, obviously for the club hosting the day as well, but having junior teams in participate in the day and your seniors are there,
absolutely.
That is top tier.
That's it. None of this senior club, junior club rubbish. It's one club. It's under 6s through first grade. It's sons and daughters and mums and dads and aunties and uncles and cousins all playing in the jerseys, and that's awesome.
Yeah, hats off to Willagee there. So the under 17s boys was the final game of the day, and we had Ellenbrook 24 over Rockingham 18. Boys, I'll be honest with you, I may have had a few internet issues during this game, so I'll have to rely on you boys for it.
Again, watch bits and pieces of it. I think I fell asleep at one point after a day in the sun. This little fella didn't cope, but you only have to look at the ladder to know Rockingham was far and away the dominant team throughout the regular season. 100-odd points, scored more than anyone else all year. One loss all year. So, I mean, Rockingham was absolutely the favourites for this game. But like we said, the favourites on the day didn't necessarily pan out.
Nah, great performance by Ellenbrook to come away with the victory. I think that's the first game through the finals for Ellenbrook that didn't go to extra time. From what I've seen.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You know, they've had to go the real long way playing extra time footy all the way through. Like, you know, 2 tough games.
Yeah, 2 golden points.
Week 1 against Lockyer, week 2 against Alpamos, and then, you know, to go out and perform like that, maybe that's a sign for a few of the senior teams. You know, if you've got to go a long way, you battle hard, and you can come out and perform like that. But well done to them. You
know, we've spoken all year about Rockingham in first grade and the young players coming through. Obviously, they won the under 17s last year, I believe. Yeah. And obviously falling short this year, but I mean, obviously the pathway in Rockingham is ripe. It is a bountiful harvest down at Lark Hill, and I think they're going to reap the benefits of it. And Ellenbrook likewise. We've spoken about Ellenbrook hopefully moving up to first grade. Obviously, one of their senior teams making the grand final, the other one falling agonisingly short, but they clearly have the pathway coming through for their 17s. Massive things for both clubs, where we've seen some of the stronger dominant clubs not able to field a 17s this year. It's good to see these clubs up and coming, and who knows, next year might be rocking and shaking those boys in seniors, hopefully.
Absolutely. And boys, we have to circle back. There is a reason I skipped this, and you boys have no idea about it, but this is going to be a little bit of a stitch up to Beer Triks. Now, the under 14s boys, Kwinana 28 over Ellenbrook 24. And obviously, Empire's very own Beer Triks was coach of the under-14s boys. So, firstly, just from the rest of us boys here, mate, well done, because that was more than just under-14s footy. You can tell that both yourself and the Ellenbrook side actually had a lot of coaching put into them. It wasn't just, here's a ball, you're a big kid, you run, you're a quick kid, you go out here. There was a lot more coaching and effort put into both these sides, and now I made a point of watching this game purely because you were a part of it. Beer Triks, with 7 minutes to go, mate, it was 28-10 or 28-12.
Yeah.
Ellenbrook all of a sudden got a second win and 2 quick tries. That would have had you shaking in your boots.
I did. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Oh.
7 minutes to go, I thought we were home and hosed, and then we made a mistake, and that was sort of the story of the game. As long as we controlled the footy, we seemed to be on top, but as soon as we made a mistake, Ellenbrook were good enough to capitalise. So, it really tested us, and we were lucky to hold on to the end.
Oh, I mean, on the sideline, I was sitting with a group of the Titans senior players watching, and that first half, it's like, it wasn't what we were expecting. Ellenbrook came out and were probably the better team in that first half. Then the Titans lit it up sort of the first, 15 minutes of the second half, and then all of a sudden we're like, what is going on here? We're fingernails, pulling hair, all that sort of stuff. It was, biased as all heck, but it was nerve-wracking. Ellenbrook looked amazing. They kept fighting, and I think the easy option would have been for a team just to be like, we're done, hang up the boots and just let the Titans run away with it. So absolute credit to all the Ellenbrook players, the Ellenbrook coaching staff, the coach being someone I've played with back at Kalamunda back in the day. Credit to them, because they fought, and they almost pulled the biggest bunny out of a hat ever.
I was waiting for you to work something in there, Morgz. So well done. No, but Beer Triks, half time, the scores were relatively close. Or were they tied?
It's 12-8.
12-8, so relatively quite close. Just take us a little bit. You don't have to say word for word or give away any grand secrets, but just take us into that halftime huddle and that halftime chat. What was the message to the boys? And was it as simple as, you boys know what you're doing, you've done it all year, stick to the process and trust it, or was there a little bit of something extra sprinkled in there?
No, I was mainly just going back to what we've been training all year. I was pretty peed off at half time that we let in a try from dummy half, because that's something that we worked hard on all year. So I was disappointed in that. So I just reminded them about things like that, just that defensive desire, especially on our try line, and just get back to our footy, because like I said before, when we controlled the footy, we were on top. And if we just stuck to that, cut out the errors, and our line speed was a bit shaky in that first half, so I really wanted to work on that. And so my halftime speech worked for 20 minutes, and the last 5 minutes they forgot all about it.
Well, that's where I'm going next. So obviously, as a coach, you're on the sideline. There is literally nothing you can do. You are the ultimate, most powerless person on that sideline while ever that game is in play. The score starts getting creeping closer and closer to that 28-24 scoreline. How important are your sports trainers and water runners and what sort of messages did you give them to help the boys sort of get through that last 7-minute period?
I was just to keep calm. Both my trainers do a really good job of going out there and calming the boys down. We implemented sort of halfway through the year. There was a little bit of as boys do, a bit of arguing back and two, sort of blaming each other. So we implemented through the year that none of the players are to say anything. They're just to listen to the trainers. They're to huddle up, take a deep breath, and just focus back on our footy. And I was fortunate that I had a few boys on the bench that are really good defenders, and I got a lot of trust in them. So after they scored that second try towards the end there, they went straight back out there, and that filled me with a lot of confidence in that last set of 6 that we had to defend.
That's great to hear that you have players that you can trust at your disposal. I
think me and Sweeney went for a bit of a wander at half time. We were hoping to get a bit of a a steam from the ears moment, maybe, turn Beer Triks into a bit of a meme or something. But I think, looked, without being able to quite hear the words, looked calm, controlled, but sort of just saying what needed to be said to a bunch of 13, 14-year-old kids. And I think that's, it was obviously the message that worked, and, it was an easy time to thinking, maybe we should be ahead, maybe we should be doing better, blow up, but I think credit to Beer Triks, I'll blow a bit of smoke up your bottom. It worked, and really good coaching. And I think we spoke about Rise as well for the 13s, being a few of the Titans boys I was involved with in Rise as well when they were playing up in the 15s, but some, sensationally talented players. But again, I think taking their leadership of a team and their skills and taking it to the next level, and it was probably a few individual players, but a couple of them, and inserting themselves into the right position at the right moment, that probably was the straw that broke the Ellenbrook back at the beginning of that second half. And without that little bit of sort of 1-2 punch at that beginning of that second half, they probably don't win the game.
I just wanted to grab on to the point you made there. Like, it would have been easy to blow up at half time. And that's a lesson that I got out of last year's grand final, is I was probably too emotional and probably raised my voice a bit too much, and the boys went into their shell. So that was a huge lesson for me, and probably a lesson to all junior coaches out there, is that, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, and that's
you might get one good blow up a year.
Yeah.
And you've got to use it at the right time, and maybe in a tense game like a grand final or a final, it's not the right time to do that. And you need to be setting your standards at the start of the year, so the boys know what the expectations are.
And that's
you
it.
just remind them at half time, we're not meeting our expectations, are we?
Well, that's it. We talk about players developing, and we talk about referees developing, but it's the same for coaches. And if a coach is going through, like you are, Beer Triks, with a team, and hopefully under 15s next year, it's about a coach developing how to work with a young group of adolescents, which, trust me, speak from experience, can be something left. Some I don't know what left is, but it's something different. And
something from left field every day.
It is left field, and I've got any number of wild house stories I could tell you that would make your toes crawl. But it's it's a credit to any coach that can learn those lessons as well. You want your players to learn from the good and the bad, and coaches, league safe, sports trainers, referees, everyone involved in the game, learning when it doesn't quite go right. I think that's an absolute character strength.
Well, absolutely. That just highlights how important the adult role models that are involved with these junior teams are. You can keep, as an adult, if you can keep a cool, calm head, no matter what's going on around you or on those white lines, it's only going to benefit your junior players, because, as you mentioned there, Beer Triks, have a blow up at that age, well, any age really, it's quite easy for them to just go into the shell or turn around and have the thought process of, well, we've been doing this all year and now coach doesn't like me and this, that, the other, and like it's just going to send the kids down to rock bottom. Some respond, but not many at that age respond to that sort of stuff. So, I mean, if you've learnt something, Beer Triks, then that is probably better than winning the grand final.
Yeah, and it's
probably not right now, but I reckon in 12 months' time,
it worked out. 12 months from last grand final, it worked out well. So
and it's the image that says to all the young kids, every other kid looking at that are running around watching, brothers play, whatever, like adults, just being calm and saying what they've got to do and all that sort of stuff. It says so much positive. I love a good approach to the way we engage with young people.
That's just it. And on that note, boys, we'll have to wrap this up, but I'll wrap it up and leave you with this. You have to make a mistake to learn from it. So we're not saying if you have a blow up at an under 14 team that you're the worst person. Absolutely not. But as long as you learn from it doesn't repeat, then hey, that's all anyone 100%. Can ask of you in this world. And boys, that does bring our grand final chat to a close. But I just want to let you guys know, and everybody else as well, next episode, after we review the senior grand finals, we will be diving headfirst into some potential Perth Bears pathways teams and how soon they come in. Will we get a Perth Bears Harold Matts jersey flag or those lower grade competitions next year? So we'll leave it there, boys, and that chat to come next week. But until then, Until then, remember to train hard, be kind, and love rugby league.